Hello everyone, and welcome to another rather unusual assembly, an unscheduled holiday assembly today on this Good Friday 2020. I was looking at the news this morning, and one or two stories caught my eye of the fact that online sales of Easter eggs are up 400% on last year, which is interesting for a couple of reasons. First, perhaps the reminds us of our national appetite for chocolate. Last year, we spent a huge amount of money at Easter on general Easter stuff, over £1 billion, but of which over £200 million was spent on Easter eggs and chocolate bunnies. People who love chocolate often talk about the feel-good factor of chocolate, and maybe that may be the reason why the news websites are including those stories. Maybe it's fairly obvious that online sales of a product that was already popular were going to go up through the roof this year when people are finding it difficult to get to shops. So the only reason to include it in news reports must be to give us a bit of a feel-good story. It seems to be one of a small but determined group of stories that we could call kind of glimmer of hope stories, or light at the end of the tunnel stories. I'm sure you've seen them. Numbers of deaths falling in this country, numbers of infections falling in that country, Wuhan's back to business, those types of things. And of course, all of this is perfect timing for an Easter egg story to be offering us a glimmer of hope that things will start afresh, as this is one of the key messages of the Christian festival that the eggs and the holidays mark each year. Now, of course, today is Good Friday, in the Christian Holy Week that began on last Sunday, with Palm Sunday, which recalls Jesus' entry into Jerusalem on a donkey with his followers waving palm leaves, which symbolise victory. Yesterday was Maundy Thursday, which Christians remember as the night when Jesus was betrayed and arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. And today, Good Friday, when Jesus was crucified and his body was buried in that tomb with a big stone rolled in front of it in a kind of ultimate lockdown. On Sunday, Easter Sunday, Christians will celebrate Jesus' resurrection, his return from the dead, on a feast day that's far more significant to Christians than Christmas is, really. And one of the reasons for this is the powerful symbol of hope that this story represents. So Easter, as you know, it doesn't have a fixed date like Christmas. Instead it's a movable feast. The date changes each year. It always falls on the Sunday following the first full moon after the spring equinox. So we had a beautiful full moon this week, and not long ago was the equinox, that night when the day and night are equal in length before the days start to lengthen again into summer. We set our clocks forward. We all kind of breathe a bit of a sigh of relief that winter is over, and that spring is here. And this sense of relief is heightened by the traditional fast during Lent, the weeks leading up to Easter, when people would paint eggs in readiness to celebrate breaking that fast on Easter Sunday. You'll remember a few weeks ago there was Pancake Day at the end of February. It feels like a long time ago. Well, Pancake Day, of course, is the day when eggs were used up in the house. Eggs and sugar, for example, were used up in pancakes to get ready for that long fast of Lent, when luxuries like eggs would have been given up. And people still give up things for Lent, don't they? When I was a child, we used to give up chocolate for Lent. So the big celebration or feast day of Easter was a time to break your fast, celebrate light at the end of a long tunnel of winter, and the coming of the spring, as well for Christians, of course, being that powerful celebration of the hope and new life represented by Jesus' victory over death. It's a time of year rich in symbols of rebirth and renewal, and it's been celebrated in various ways and through various beliefs and various stories for thousands of years. Easter is deeply connected to the Jewish Passover. The name for Easter is the same as the word for Passover in many European languages. Some link the word Easter to an Anglo-Saxon fertility goddess, a dawn goddess who brought the light, and who is connected with rabbits and hares, which may be where our Easter bunny comes from. So whatever the source, it's a time of year that's steeped in symbolism, as shown perhaps not least by the fact that there's an Easter egg story on, in our newspapers and news websites today, despite the news having been dominated by metaphors of darkness, of death and fighting a war against the virus, of the dark days of lockdown that seem to have been in those papers and websites for so long now. So maybe this year we get to appreciate the symbolism of Easter in an extra vivid, special way, and that the Easter egg, with its connotation of new life breaking out from a shell, of long fasts being broken with feasting and with light at the end of dark tunnels, maybe it should give us a much needed lift, a glimmer of hope that things will be okay, and that life will return again, which is exactly what we all need to hear. So the very best Easter wishes to you all. We'll keep an eye on the news, watching out for those glimmers of hope stories, and we look forward to all being back together again soon, hopefully before too long. Until then, take care, all the best.